Welcome to Sit, Stay, Read, the podcast for every wag, whinny, and whisker. I'm Kathleen Donnelly, award-winning author and retired canine handler. Each week, I chat with novelists about the bond we share with our furry friends and how they inspire stories. Grab a coffee, get cozy with your favorite pet. It's time to sit, stay, read. Well, today I'm welcoming Sheri Lewis Wohl, a wonderful author and fellow canine handler. Sheri worked in search and rescue for many years with her German Shepherds and is now an award-winning author with books in quite a variety of genres, including paranormal, suspense, urban fantasy, and romance, just to name a few. We'll have to get into all of those. Sheri, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you. I'm happy to be here. Always happy to talk dogs.
Yeah, I think dog handlers could just talk for hours and be perfectly happy.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, I thought we'd start with your books first, and then I'm definitely
Okay.
going to ask you about your dog work because you have an amazing number of books in a variety of genres. So I'd love if you'd share a little information about the books, how many you have out, what got you into writing, all that fun stuff.
Oh, that's funny. Well, I started actually writing plain old romance novels because, kind of grew up on them. And so that's what I wanted to do. But in all honesty, as I wrote that, I realized that no matter what I was doing, something weird crept in. And I think that went back to some of my love of, like Edgar Allan Poe and all the old like Dracula and things like that,
Yeah.
Frankenstein. So it's like I loved that kind of genre. So then reading Dean Koontz one day, I had this sort of aha moment, and I'm like, he writes where there's always something odd going on in his books, but he
Yeah,
also has a thread of romance. And I like that thread of romance because no matter how
true.
bad things are, you have that little bit of hope and light. And so then I finally said, you know what, this is what I'm going to do. And so that's how I kind of got into it. But I can't settle on like one thing. So that's why you find
Okay.
um, vampires and werewolves and witches and everything else in along with the dogs. Yeah.
I
Although
love
I will
it.
say it took me a while to figure out how to work the dogs into it. But once I got it, now we got it.
That's awesome. I was wondering about that because do you make your canine work realistic along with these paranormal characters like vampires and werewolves?
Yes. So the dogs are never the ones with the, preternatural skills in my books.
Okay.
Although in the Guardians, the dog's job is to warn against demons trying to come into the
Okay.
world. And they do have that's probably the only one I think where they actually have a little something extra is in the Guardians. But the
Okay.
rest of them, when I work it into the books, the handler might have something a little extra.
Okay.
But the dog is a straight up search dog who's out there doing its job. And I try to make it pretty realistic so that say for if you were reading it, you would go, "Oh yeah, she does actually know what she's talking about." So
I love it. And I think working canines in their own way, they have this amazing ability. And so in their own way, they are an amazing being, like a werewolf or a vampire. I mean,
I
don't you
think
think?
so. I mean, anybody that's worked with the dogs and can see what they do, it is magical. I mean, it's just amazing what the dogs can do.
It really is. I even have goosebumps thinking about it because just when you think, oh, we're not going to find this or that, they come through or they're looking at you like you idiot. It's right here.
I always say there was one search where I'm looking at Zoe, my dog, and the words almost came out of my mouth, Zoe, get back to work. And then all of in that split second, that little light came on and like, oh, she is working. And a
Yeah.
few minutes later, she completed her job.
Oh, that's wonderful. Actually, I'd love to hear more about that story. Was that out on a search and rescue
It was
or?
on a search, and we were looking for a gentleman who had been lost. And of course, we were a recovery team. So by the time they call
Okay.
us, the assumption is we are in a recovery mode, which we were. But literally, like I say, I looked at her and I thought, "Oh, come on." And and then I realized she actually was working and that she was in scent. And so,
Wow.
you have a navigator with you, and I'm like, "Heads up, she's in scent." So,
Okay.
keep an eye out for any, because as the handlers know, it's not just the dog, but you're also looking for tracking signs and things like that. So then we go on full alert too. And like I say, it was probably within 5 minutes that we located the gentleman and brought him home to his family.
Wow. And again, you're going to give me goosebumps this whole interview because the ability to help a family find closure just has to be amazing, right? I mean, it's difficult, I'm sure, but there's also can you tell me a little more about that? I don't know if I'm
Yeah,
finding the
I
right
mean,
words. So,
it is what you do it for. It's because if it was my family member, I always tell people that one of the reasons I was drawn to human remains detection is because I didn't like the thought of them out there lost and alone and cold.
Mhm.
I said intellectually, I understand they're gone, and those some of those things don't really apply, but emotionally that was it for me. They're out there
Yeah,
cold, lost and alone, and I don't want to leave them out there. So if
yeah,
we can help to bring them home, that's what we want to do. And so that's what drew me to it. And it just happened to be that my dog Zoe in particular, that's what she was good at. I mean, she could
yeah.
do live find, but she wasn't really interested in live people. She
Oh,
wanted
that's
to find the
interested.
dead people. I'm like, okay, everybody has to have their job.
Yeah,
And so that's what she happened to be good at. So that's
that's
what
so
we did.
fascinating. So
Yeah.
fascinating. And I think it's interesting because yeah, I worked the narcotics dogs and I had some that were like, oh, Boomer, who might bark here in a minute. I don't know. He's thinking about it. He likes to join in every now and then.
Yeah.
He loved finding marijuana vapes. I knew if that's what was they thought was out of school, he was coming out because
Yep.
that's what he loved to find. So that's so fascinating that she was that way with human remains.
Well, it is interesting. You find the dogs that have an affinity and the ability to do these scent specific jobs, but it's like they also let you know where they really want to go.
Yeah.
And I find that interesting too.
So fascinating. Now, how many dogs did you work over the years?
Well, mainly Zoe. I
Okay.
trained Clancy. Clancy pretty much let me know that he did not like it.
Oh,
And
interesting.
so,
Okay.
yeah, yeah, and that I think is what's fun about it is because everybody asks you, and you probably get the same question is, what kind of dogs or what breed of dogs are more,
Mhm.
suitable for this or whatever. And it's like, well, it's really not breed specific. Granted,
Yeah.
there are some breeds that are not made to work in a field, but it's dog specific, not breed specific. It's what
Yeah.
dog can do the job, what dog has the right drive, and just that right thing to do that specific job. So Clancy let me know that he wasn't the guy. So okay, so then Zoe's like, yeah, I like this. This is cool. So I worked her until we had to retire her. And then I
Okay.
trained Deuce. And then Deuce is the one that I ultimately pulled out of the field, not because he did anything wrong. He was great. He knows
Okay.
it. And he will still, if you come over, he will still check your car to make sure you don't have bodies on it. Um,
All right. So everyone keep that in mind. Don't show up at
yes, yeah,
Sherry's
if you
with
come to
any
my
dead
house,
bodies.
you will be checked for human remains. But I'm the one that decided it was time to step away. And so
Yeah.
I had a meeting with him. I asked him if he was okay
Mhm.
with us not doing it anymore, and he said he was.
I
So I've
understand
trained
that.
3. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, cool. Yeah, Boomer and I had a similar conversation, and if you showed up at our house with drugs, it would be a
Yeah.
problem. So I guess we're just no fun to party with, is what I'm
Yeah.
getting from that.
Well, it is funny. There were actually a couple cops here one day, and I always take him out to meet people when they're here.
Yeah.
And so he did check their cars first, and he went over and he met one, and then he went over to the second one, and he sniffed him for a second, and then he did a down.
Oh.
And he said, "Oh, he knows I work with canines." And I said, "No, what he just did is tell me you're dead." I
He-
said, you might want to go to the doctor. I'm just saying.
Oh, I love it. I love
Yeah.
it so much. Now, so it sounds like you primarily work the human remains dogs and not live searches then. Am I right
Yeah,
on that? And would
I
you
did. I
mind
mean,
telling everyone the difference? Just because some
I've
people may not
trained
know.
in, and I trained Zoe in particular. She was fully trained in live find. Air
Okay.
scent is, and that's what we trained in. Well, actually, she did trailing and air scent.
Okay.
And trailing is scent specific. So that's the one where you see on TV where they give them the scent article and they sniff it and then they go find the person. And that's actually really helpful if you're trying to find direction of travel. Which way did the person take off from? That's really helpful. So she
Oh, that
trained
makes
in that. We
sense.
never took the certification test, but she trained it and she was actually pretty good. And I've done some of that with Deuce too. And then air scent is the one you see most of the time when they're looking for missing people and missing children. And in air scent, the dogs aren't looking for a specific person. They are
Okay.
looking for any person. So you just
Oh,
send them out.
interesting.
So if you happen to come upon somebody that isn't the person you're looking for, but the dog finds them, the dog still gets rewarded because they
Okay.
found this person. And then you just say, "Hey, there's more," and the dog keeps working until you find who you're looking for.
Wow. Oh, that's so fascinating. I didn't realize that. I've heard about that with police dogs with the hottest scent, but I didn't
Yeah,
realize that's kind of how some of the air scent dogs worked with search and rescue. So
yeah,
fascinating.
yeah. So they're just out looking for people, and
Okay.
so yeah, yeah. So sometimes they'll
Wow.
get rewarded a couple times if they just happen to stumble upon people, but yeah. So yeah, like I say, it's
That's
not a
cool.
specific person in air scent. They're just trained to look for people.
Okay. And then for human remains, I think one thing that I found fascinating, just as I met you and talked with you and another human remains handler I know, is you guys have to keep training aids on hand and you don't use pseudo. So
No,
I'd
we do
love
not use pseudo.
for
We
you to tell
we
us more about
use
that.
human remains. Yeah, I
Yeah.
had a freezer in my garage, a padlocked freezer. And in the freezer, I had various items of human remains, including my own gallbladder.
Oh,
So,
wow. Oh my
yeah,
gosh.
when I had to have my gallbladder removed, I talked the doctor into letting me have it, which took some doing and a letter from the sheriff's department. But they, when they understood what it was we were doing with it, then they're like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
we can let you take that." So
Oh,
the
fascinating.
items, the training aids, as you know, they are inventoried, and you have to update it at least once a year. It's also
Okay.
subject to random review by the sheriff's department, so
Okay.
that our inventory is held by the sheriff's department, and like I say, they're the ones that oversee it. Now, when I stepped away, what I did was I turned all of that over to the sheriff's department, and they were able to pass it on to a new HRD handler so that they
Okay.
had the training aids. So yeah, I mean, I had cremains, I had teeth, I had human bones, I had, all sorts of things.
Okay. Oh, fascinating. And I didn't even think about cremains, but I guess that would change the odor of the remains for the dog. Is that right?
It it does. And the dogs can distinguish between human cremains and animal cremains. And it's
That's
something we
amazing.
proof them off of. So like even bones, when I was training, you would find animal bones in my front yard. We live on a couple acres, and so I'd go out and
Okay.
throw bones, animal bones out there. And then we would train on a human bone so that the dogs learn to distinguish the
Mhm.
between the two. And so, they might sniff the other bone, but they're going to leave it immediately and keep going.
Yeah,
So
that's
we're
so
proofing
cool.
them off of this.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I'll just step back for a minute just for anyone listening. We're throwing out a lot of dog handling terms today, but so pseudo drugs are drugs that smell like the real thing, but they are not the real thing. And I found it, so I trained a lot off of that because we were a private company and our sheriff's office would not be happy if I had a bunch of drugs at my house.
Right.
The DEA we would have to get a license and go through a whole big thing. So just to kind of explain to the viewers and in proofing, like you were saying, is just making sure the dog is alerting on the correct odor. So, um,
Right.
yeah. And
And
if
it's
you
the
have anything
same
to
with
add,
human remains. You're not going
yeah,
to, I mean, if I wanted to train a dog now, without being affiliated, that would be a problem because you
yeah,
shouldn't have human remains at your house. I mean, you could have
exactly.
cremains, I suppose, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So fascinating. Wow. So with your books, you have these great, but like I said, they're suspenseful and stuff. Did you draw from some real experiences and bring them into your book and then kind of create the paranormal, or is it all just imagination?
I would say the majority of it's just imagination. There's nothing drawn off of any of the cases that we might have worked on because HRD does oftentimes have to do law enforcement searches too. Because law enforcement, as a general rule, at least in my area, they don't have human remains detection dogs.
Okay.
Because as you know, training these dogs is incredibly expensive, and if it's even
Yes.
more expensive for law enforcement than it is for us.
Yeah.
And so all of the HRD dogs are part of the search and rescue team. They're all volunteers. They're all privately owned, and so um, yeah, so that's why we would get called out quite a bit for that. But in
Okay.
the books, most of the books, frighteningly enough, come out of my head. So
I love it. I love it. Well, this is why I love, it's great to when we met at Left Coast Crime, I was like, this is my kind of person, and that's why. We love dogs and we both make up the craziest things. So
yeah, yeah. Although some of my hand, like we have Riverside State Park here, which is this massive park. It's absolutely stunning. Trails, hills,
Wow.
off-road stuff. And I used to ride my bike back and forth to work. It was 10 miles from my house to work.
Oh
And
my
so
gosh.
I
Wow.
would ride my bike. But as I'm riding through the park, I'm looking down going, ooh, that's a good place to drop a body. And then of course I'm
Yes.
thinking, who would drop a body down there? Well, a werewolf would drop a body down there.
Of
And so
course.
then one of my handler friends read the book and she goes, I can't go in the park now without thinking about werewolves. So my work here is done.
Oh, I love it. I love it. That's my husband can sympathize because we'll go out somewhere and I take this random picture in the mountains and he's like, "Why did you just take that picture?" And I said, "Because it's a good place to put a body and I want to remember it for a
Yeah.
book."
Yeah.
I mean, why else would you take a picture? I mean, come
Visual
on.
aids are really helpful.
They are. They
Uh,
definitely are. Well, and another thing I should touch on that I'm not certain, maybe more people know than I realize, but you are volunteer when you're working for search and rescue and human remains. You are paying for everything. So I'd love
that
to
is
hear more about that.
Yeah, that is correct. It is search and rescue is 100% volunteer. The canine handlers own and train their own dogs. And there are certain instances where some of your expenses might get reimbursed, like
Okay.
big disaster things. We have had a couple here where they were really large things, and then they did pay for mileage and hotels. But 98% of the time, yeah, you're not seeing any. So all the money for the dogs comes out of your pocket. Sometimes we get grants. Like we got a grant to go to Colorado Mesa University to the body
Oh,
farm there
cool.
and they do a canine
Yeah.
training. And so we did get a grant. I mean, there was still out of pocket costs, but we got a grant to be able to go do that, which was an absolutely fantastic experience because even though we have training aids, the ability to train on whole bodies
Yeah.
is really small. And so when the schools provide this kind of training for us, it is really invaluable for the dogs.
That's
And
wonderful.
so, yeah, so it is all out of pocket. Yeah, equipment, everything. Now, if you lose your equipment or something gets broken when you're on a mission, then the state will reimburse you for that
Oh,
to
okay.
replace it.
Okay.
But that $700 GPS unit, yeah, that's coming out of your pocket to begin with. So,
Okay. And I think it's important for people to realize that because the job you
yeah,
do is just so tremendous. And when search and rescue goes out, we owe them so
yeah.
much. I mean,
Well, and the other piece of it is just right along with the amount of money that it costs you to do this. when you're a canine handler, the training hours are astronomical.
Yes.
Because in order to maintain these certifications, you have to have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours of training every
Yeah.
year. And then the certifications have to happen usually every 24 months. So in order to be field deployable, you have to have the training hours in and you have to have up-to-date certifications.
That makes sense. That sounds very familiar. I know I
Hmm.
trained every day, or we were either working or training, and you're
Yeah,
probably the same
pretty
way.
much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. Did your dogs do any, uh, I don't know if I have the right term for it, but underwater detection? Were they certified in that?
Zoe absolutely loved the water. Clancy and Deuce both look at the water and kind of go, eh. But Zoe, I don't know if she's got had some inner lab in her. I'm not sure, but that dog adored the water. And so she did have water certification. Yeah. And when we train, if one of the other dogs got on the boat, if she could see it, you could hear her screaming clear back in the truck
Yes.
because she wanted to be on the boat. So
Yes.
yeah, so we did water.
That's great. And I think it was amazing to me when I first started out as a canine handler. Our trainer also trained search and rescue dogs, some things like that. And I didn't realize you could find bodies that had been under the water. I'd love to hear more
Yeah.
about that. It just blew me away.
Yeah, it's a little it's more difficult because a lot of times, on land you can pinpoint a lot of times. In the water, you're not pinpointing as much as you're finding an area. And as you watch them on the water, what you do is you'll have a navigator. So somebody's working the GPS unit for you.
Okay.
And then you're sort of directing or you're making little grid patterns, but you'll see that change in behavior. and
Okay.
and you understand change of behavior. It's not
Yes.
and so you're marking change in behavior because what happens when you get all done is you will have an area marked, and
Okay.
that gives your divers someplace specific to look. But
Okay.
there's still, I mean, there are things like current and wind, but you have the same thing on land. Is you have to
Yes.
factor in wind, and I mean there's a lot to how you do a search. But yeah, it's
Yes.
or when you're on shoreline, what you will watch the dog do is they will start to go back and forth when they
Okay.
pick up scent. And pretty soon you watch that little back and forth get smaller and smaller and smaller. And what you realize is then you've got a little triangle. So the base of it's on the shoreline and it goes out into the water. So you can say we've got scent right here.
Oh, that's amazing. So it's very, very similar then. Very similar
Mhm.
to finding something fascinating. And I would think a high current then would be like high winds. It would really move that scent around and make it very
Yeah,
difficult. Is that right?
it can. Yeah, it can be
Okay.
real difficult. Yeah, water's tricky. Water's tricky. I
I
mean,
bet it
that
is.
scent comes up. The scent comes up, and I always think of the first time we got Zoe out on the boat. She was 6 months old, and the deputy's like, "Yeah, let's just take her out and get her used to the boat." Just sort of getting them accustomed to being. We weren't going to
Yeah.
really do anything, and she'd only been doing little bits. She was in the beginning training of
Okay.
HRD, but we had a foot in the water, and he took her by the foot, and she actually just did a poof full on down. And
Nice.
he never let me forget it because he goes, I wasn't really quite sure who was more surprised about that. You were the dog.
I love that. It's so
Yeah,
true, right? I mean, the
yeah,
dogs
yeah,
always know what they're doing, and we're
yeah.
the
I'm
ones
like,
who
yeah, it was pretty funny.
Oh, I love it. I love it. That's so great. Well, gosh, I could talk dogs all day with you, but
Yeah, yeah.
I don't want to forget about your books. So when I
Oh,
got on your website, I was like, okay, which book of Sherry should I start with? And then I saw all these books. So is there a series like since this is Sit, Stay, Read, we're focusing on the animal side, which books should readers start with?
well, we have Buried Secrets. And
Okay.
there's a dog team in this. There's an HRD dog team in this.
Okay.
And so that's a fun one. Serial killer and HRD
Ooh.
dog team. Yeah.
Oh, fun. Okay.
Moonlight Obsession that just comes out tomorrow officially.
Oh,
It's
congratulations.
actually set in Montana, and this has werewolves. But this dog team comes back into play in this book.
Okay. Okay. So is
So
it part of a series or?
it's not really a series, they're standalones, but we're seeing some recurring characters come into play.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
yeah,
That's good to
yeah.
know.
And
Awesome.
then the Guardians, of course, that one's got the Anatolian shepherds who keep an
Okay.
eye on the demons.
Oh,
Uh,
I love it. I love it.
yeah, yeah.
Very
So
cool.
those
Okay.
are my three recent ones with the dogs in them.
Okay. That's a great place to start then.
Yeah.
And I will put your website in the show notes so people can find
Oh,
it. But
thank
let's
you.
also go ahead and just tell everyone too, in case someone can't get to the
Oh,
show
okay. Well,
notes.
yeah, you can find everything at sherilewiswohl.com, or you can go to boldstrokesbooks.com and you'll find everything there too.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right.
Of course,
Fantastic. And
Amazon and anywhere else, all the regular places.
cool. And you're
Yeah.
on social media, right?
I
Instagram and
am. I'm
Facebook.
on, yeah, Facebook for we Sheri Lewis Wohl, Instagram Sheri Lewis Wohl. I'm on Blue Sky, not very
Okay.
often, but Threads.
Cool.
I don't do
Okay.
X. Sorry.
Yeah. I understand. I'm always debating that one. I'm like, I'm not going to do it. And then I end up posting. I'm like, well, there I
Yeah, yeah.
am.
Uh,
Newsletter? Do you have an author
I
newsletter?
do not do newsletters, huh?
Okay.
No,
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
No.
Sounds
I'm sort
good.
of like one of those. I don't think I'm that interesting that I could come up with that much stuff.
Oh, I don't know about that, but I would love to end on just if there's one story in particular of a search you and your dogs did, or just a really special experience or memory working with them.
um, I think the gentleman that we found on the side of the mountain and brought home to his family was pretty special. Number one, because he came home to his family. But
Yeah.
the really special part about that particular search was that he had taken his little dog with him, a little Jack Russell Terrier,
Okay.
and the dog had his leash got wrapped around a bush, and so when we got there, um, the dog was still alive. And
Oh
so
my
we
gosh.
say that
Okay.
this search was both a recovery and a rescue because we were able to bring the dog home to the family. And they were
Oh,
very, very excited to have him be okay.
oh, I bet. Oh, that's wonderful. Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
that's that again. Your whole interview, I just have goosebumps. So
Oh,
wow, that's so cool. I had a little Russell Terrier, so that's even more for
yeah.
me. Wow. So well, thank you so much for coming on the show today and sharing your experiences both as a canine handler and author. And like I said, I'm going to make sure your website's up on the show notes. Everyone should go check it out, especially if you love paranormal suspense, romance. There's a huge list, lots of dog books, and the three you can start with the three she recommended. So, Sheri, thank you for coming on.
Well, thank you for having me. It's been fun.
It has been. And everyone, until next time, keep your tails wagging and pages turning. Thanks for joining me today. Sit, Stay, Read is a part of the Authors on the Air Global Network. If you enjoyed today's author interview, be sure to leave a review and share the episode with a fellow animal-loving reader. If you're curious about the world of working dogs and wilderness adventures, please check out my books at KathleenDonnelly.com. Until next time, curl up with your best furry friend and sit, stay, read.